This is the grade 12 RT Prac exam, paper 1 from November 2018, and we are busy with the fourth and final question of this exam paper. We are doing question 4.2 now, but just to recap, this question is dealing with arrays. And in the first question, what happened was we would select a month and then we would go through a text file and populate our array customers with however many numbers they need. So it would look something like this, but we're using array customers. We also created a days in month variable, which told me how many values were in the array, because we can't just assume it's always going to be 31, because the month might have 28 days or 30 days. So we did that in question 4.1, so that's done. So we can believe that array customers will have a whole bunch of numbers in it that goes from 1 till the number of days in the month. So let's go down to question 4.2. Okay, so just a reminder, we are in an exam situation. This question is the last question. You're running out of time. It's quite difficult normally, this type of question. So you are trying to break this question down into little pieces so that you can get as many marks as possible. Okay, so a combo box is going to be used to select the day of the week, which indicates the first day of the month. Okay, and then the using that selected day, we're going to populate a calendar that looks like this. Okay, so this is quite a meaty question. This is quite a challenging question. It's quite intimidating, I'm not going to lie. The number of customers who visit the restaurant must be displayed in brackets, and then that's the date. Okay, so that's an example of output if it was May and the first day was a Friday. Whew, this is quite a substantial question. So let's, they've done some of the headings for us, so let's go to the code. So there we can select the day that was selected. So Sunday, whatever. So we're going to display, and they did all the headings for us. So if I just run it, let's just see what it looks like so that we can know what we need to do. Display. Okay, so that's all done for us. We simply have to do this part. Okay, so as I said, it's very intimidating. How do we approach a question like this? Well, you approach it bit by bit. Let's approach it in small little bites and get as many marks as we can. When I think of a calendar, I'm thinking of three distinct parts of the calendar. There's the first line, as you can see, which is a special case because we got to start somewhere and then put like we're going to have blanks, and then we can put in the days. Okay, then we have this case where we have the middle part, and each part in the middle is exactly the same as 1 to 7, 1 to 7, 1 to 7. That's easy. And then we have the last part, which is the last line, which is this little bit, which means we put in the days until we reach the end, and that's it. We're not going to go from 1 to 7. Okay, so I'm going to approach this question by trying to break it up into those three parts. I'm first going to try to get line 1 right, and then work on the middle part, and then I'm going to try to get that final line right. So that's my strategy. So let's think about this. If they select from the combo box Friday, so we want to start at that position. So if we had a for loop, we would go from basically something to 7, but if it was a Friday, we would start from 6 to 7. If it was a Wednesday, it would be 1, 2, 3. It would be from 4 to 7. So how can we get that number? Well, that combo box. Let's go look at that combo box. That combo box might give us some information. Not that one there. If I look at that combo box, let's go look at the items in the combo box. So that's a 1. Okay, so that's the first day. So okay, so for those of you who don't know, the combo box item index tells me which one is selected. So that is a 0, that's a 1, that's a 2, that's a 3, that's a 4, that's a 5, that's a 6. Okay, so remember with this example that we had here, we want to loop from 6 till 7. Okay, if it was this. In this case, we want to loop from 4 to 7. So where do we get the 6 from? Well, if I look at the item index of Friday is not 6, it's 5, because this starts at position 0. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know that it's a 5, so whatever the item index is, I just plus 1 onto it till 7 to get from 6 to 7. The item index of Wednesday is 0, 1, 2, 3. Same thing applies. For this scenario, we want to go from 4 to 7, but the item index for Wednesday is a 3, so we take that 3 plus 1 and go to 7. So that's what I'm going to do for my first line. Okay, so that's my strategy. I'm going to get the item index for this particular one. Okay, I'm going to make sure that the item index is a 0. I think I might have changed it. There we go. So first things first, let's get the item index. I'm going to make my variables here. Let's just so I can see it. My variables. Let's call it the start. Okay, the R start position. The R start position we're going to use as our start is going to be whatever the combo box for that day is, dot item index plus 1. That's where we are going to start with our looping. Okay, so if it was Friday, it would be a 5. It would be a 5 because it's 0 to 5, but then we would plus 1, so it would start at position 6. If that makes sense. So we're going to loop from 6 to 7. But before we do that, we actually need to add some gaps in. I hope you see that we want to add in gaps. So we want to start from 1 till 3 in this case. And there we're going to go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till 5. So we actually want to loop from 1 till our starting date backed off 1 and just put in those blanks for now. Yeah, I know it seems quite confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable for my S first. That's going to be my first line. And I'm going to say, you know what, my first line has got nothing in it. And I'm going to loop from 1 till the start minus 1, till the day before we start. And all I'm going to do is inside that, I'm going to say the first is equal to whatever's in the first currently plus a hash 9. So it's going to add basically, if I is a 6, it's going to add 5 hashes. So we must have our R variable. We've got our R variable there. Okay. So that's what it's going to do. So this is going to add 5 hash 9. So it's going to go, so that's a 5 plus 1, that's a 6. So it's going to go from 1 to 5, hash 9, hash 9, hash 9, hash 9, hash 9. So it's going to be ready there. Now we can add the values. Now I'm not going to do the date just yet. We can do that. I just want to get these values correct. So let's just put in. So once we've done that, we now want to loop from the starting value up until 7. So once that's done, we're going to do another loop from the starting value. So R, sorry, we can use the R variable again. We're going to start there and go till 7. And what are we doing? We are going to say that first that we add a whole bunch of hash 9s to, we are going to take whatever's in it and add on whatever's in array customers at position. Oh, now that's the key part. And what position? Well, we want at that position to add position 1 and then a position 2. So we need something that's going to record which date we have just added. Okay. So we need to have some sort of a date that's going to tell me the first, the second, the third, because we're going to need a variable that's doing that anyway. So let's create a date number. So we will start it off. Let's start it as a 0. And the moment we want to add the customers, we're going to first increase our date, which means it'll be a 1. And then we're going to put in position 1 of array customers onto first. And then add another hash 9. So that'll do for the 6th one. So that although our variable 6, our date will be a 1, it'll move to number 7. Our date will increase to a 2. Put in the second day, add a hash. So that will do. That should construct my first line. So think about it. I'm adding in the gaps. I'm adding in 5 gaps because that position, we extracted it, is the starting day, number 6. We're starting at position 6. So we're going to go from 1 to 5, adding gaps. Then we're going to go from 6 to 7, adding that value plus a hash, and then that value. Okay, so for this case, if our starting day is there, it's a 0, 1, 2, 3. So we want to start at position 4. So we can add 1 to 4 minus 1 gaps. So 1, 2, 3 gaps, followed by 4 to 7, adding 4 values of the days. Okay, so let's see if that works. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but let's see if that works. And then we must add it to the memo control. Or not the memo control, the rich edit. So the rich edit dot lines dot add is our first line. So we've tried to add, so this part over here is add in the gaps. And then this part over here is add in the first few days for the first line. Okay, I don't know if it's going to work. Let's see. We might have to modify it slightly, but let's just get an idea. Over here, that is a integer variable. It's an array of integers, so we just convert it from an integer to a string. Okay, I know it's not in the format that they want. I know they wanted it's a number with a bracket. We can edit that later. Let's just get the numbers working. Let's not get too fussed about that. I just want to make sure that those numbers are the right numbers. Okay, so we want to populate May, and we want to say that May starts on a Friday. We display. And we've got to look at our values. Are those the same values as what they've got over here? 48, 81. Seems to work. So if we use this scenario now, the one at the bottom here, I think that's for February. So let's go and load February. So we're going to, where's February? Over there. Populate February and then say February started on a Wednesday. There we go. It looks like it's working. So we got our first line. You see, break it up into little steps. Now we can get it working. Okay, so that's the first line done. Now, what do we want to do for the next line? Well, the next few lines, we know we're always going from 1 to 7. Let's just do the second line just by itself. We can go from 1 to 7. That's it. So I'm going to have a for loop that goes from 1 to 7. And what am I doing? Well, I'm going to be doing something similar to this. I'm going to have, let's make our middle variable s middle, okay? And we're going to say s middle equals to nothing at first. And then in here, we're going to increase the date because now we're dealing with a new date, the 3rd, for example. And we're going to say s middle is equal to whatever's in s middle plus, it's exactly the same as this, the date followed by #9. Okay. And then once that's done, once we finish doing that loop, we've constructed the string, we can then add middle to our rich edit. See, we copy and paste our code. It's very similar. So let's see, this should work for just the second line. So hopefully it works for just the second line. So I'm going to select May, populate it, and we're going to start with a Friday and display it. So there's our second line. And let's have a look. Those numbers look pretty good. Those numbers are pretty good. So now I just want to repeat doing this, or while some sort of condition, keep doing this. Begin, end, because we do in the middle so many times. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. But when do we end? Do we end when date equals the number of days in the month? This is the variable, remember, that tells me when is the end of the array. Although the array can go to 31, days in the month will tell me how many values there are actually in the array. So do I do that? No. Well, that's not going to work because this is the scenario. Let's say we get to the last week. Let's use this example. So we get to 30. Okay, so we've done 30. So now 30 is not equal to 31. So it will then do this loop again, and it'll go from 1 to 7, increase the day to 31, display 31, come back up here, day number 2, or the second loop, make it a 32, and try get position 32, which doesn't exist, and it'll crash. So when you want to do the middle, this middle bit, we know that we want to do it, there must be at least 7, we must go till 7 less, because there could be 6 values here, it could be 5, it could be 4. So we actually want to go till the days in the month minus 7. Okay, so the moment we get beyond that, then that means there's not enough place to fit in the last week. Okay. So number of days in the month minus 7. Let's see if that works. We're going to populate May. We're going to say it starts on a Friday. And display. Why did it not display? Oh, because we kept on displaying the middle. Why do we keep on displaying the middle? I mustn't say equal to, I must say less than. Sorry, less than days in 7 days. Let's see what happens here. I can see there's going to be at least one mistake that I think will happen, but I'll explain that now. So if we say we start on Friday, and we go display, and you go, what's happening? Why is it displaying that 189 so many times? Because when we create S middle for the first week, we set it to nothing. And then when we start the second middle week, or the third week, sorry, S middle still has all that other stuff. We actually need to reset S middle every time we do a 1 to 7. Okay, does that make sense? Because when we do this line, we do it, then we must set middle to nothing so that we can start this line from scratch. So there is nothing in it beforehand. So that's why we should put the initialization of S middle as nothing, then do 1 to 7, display that middle line. Let's do the next line. Set it to nothing, keep adding it, and so on. Whew, this question is long. So we're going to go to May, let's populate, go to Friday, display, and does it work? Does it work? Do we get all the lines? 119 on the day 30. It seems to work. We got there. We've got the middle all done. Now we've got to do the last line. Okay, so the last line, we know that our date will be 30. Okay, we know that in this scenario, it will be a 30. In this scenario, it will be a 25. So we want to go from whatever our date is plus 1 up until the last day in the month. And that will be our last line. So we're going to make another variable called S last. You could have made them all the same, but I'm just doing it so that you can see that it's all separated. So we've done the middle. So now I'm going to do S last. S last we will set to nothing. And then I will loop from our date to the number of days in the month. Okay, but remember when it does the middle bit, when it does to 20, our date will be a 25. We want to go from 26 to 28, which we know the last value because that's the number of elements in the array, the odd days a month, but we need to always have whatever the date is plus 1 to that. So we must start from our date plus 1 to the number of days. And what are we doing? We are doing pretty much this again. We're increasing our date because if it was a 25, if it was a 25, we go from 26, we make it that 25 into a 26, and we set the last line, take whatever is currently in the last line, and add the customer's date. And then once that's done, we display not the middle, but the last line. I hope this works. Let's see if it works. Let's see. I've got a funny feeling it's going to work. If it works, I'll be so happy. It's quite a complicated question. Can we get it done? If we do May, populate it, and it starts on a Friday. Display. That looks right. And if we say February, and it starts on a Wednesday, display. Is that the same? Is it the same? It looks the same. Is that on a Tuesday? That's on a Tuesday. There we go. So now we've got it. It's working. The only thing we have to do now is to make sure that it displays the date with a bracket and then the number. And that's easy to fix. So if we go down here, whenever we display, we actually going to first say int to string our date plus a bracket plus the value, and then we're going to add another bracket at the end. Let's see if that works for the first line. So we did that on the first line. Let's see if it works. Hopefully it all fits in. May, populate the array. It starts on a Friday. There we go. So now all I have to do, we're almost there. I can smell victory. I'm just going to copy this code. This is the code that we want. And instead of doing first, when we do the middle, we're going to do the same thing. And when I do the last line, you do that. If you have time, you could create a procedure or a function that adds that on. You could do something like that. So it's possible. But at the moment, time's right now. If we just want to get this stuff done, let's have a look. Can we get it? Is it going to be done? Populate. It starts on a Friday. Look at that. How cool is that? I think we just got to put in the spaces, but it looks like it's pretty much legit. We just have to put in maybe a space over there. But it looks like it's all working out. Look at that. How great is that? So it's just a matter of putting a space there, right there in front of the opening brackets, and it should be perfect. So there we go. So how did we do it again? We took it line by line. We first looked at the first line. We know that we could get the starting day, but remember, because of the item index, it's a one before it. So we just add one onto it. So 0, 1, 2, 3. This would have been an item index of 3. We plus 1 to get the 4 of the starting day. We go from 1 till 1 before the starting day, just add in blanks, and then we go from the starting day to 7, add in the values in the array. We have this date variable that's going 1, 2, 3, 4. Every single time we add a value, so that keeps track of what date we are busy with. That was the first line. Then when we did the middle parts, we first did one line. We go from 1 to 7, increase the date, display. Increase the date, display. That's all we did. Add it onto the string and then put it down. And we keep doing that until we get to a date that is at least 7 less than the ending date, so that we can fit it in, so we don't go beyond a blank position that doesn't exist. And then the final line, we take our whatever date we're at the moment, we plus 1 because we want to start at that date. We go from that till however many elements are in the array, our days in month, just add in that structure and then add that last line. And that's how we did it. Well done. For the other videos from this exam paper, as well as other exam papers and other content on Delphi, please go to our YouTube video, check out the playlist that'll guide you on where you can go to get the help that you need. Follow us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter so you can see whenever we post new videos. And remember, don't do it the long way, do it the Mr. Long way.